this meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. Thank you for showing up. We appreciate it. We're going to have a good night tonight. We're going to start off by first calling the board meeting to order at 6 p.m. and we'll start off with item 1, adoption of the agenda. Before we vote on it, I'm sorry, if it's okay with the board, we'd like to move the American Citizens Essay Contest, which is item 7. We'd like to move that up to item 6 in front of public comment. And then after that's over, then we'll proceed with public comment.
So I'll amend my motion to approve a flexible agenda.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further board discussion? Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to item 2, which is the flag salute. If you'll join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 3 is our superintendent's report. This is for information only. Superintendent Fueling.
Thank you, President Cassioppo and trustees. We have some special guests this evening, led by Coach Jason Macy and Coach John Hager. If you want to come up and introduce all these young people.
Come over here and face this. Come over here and face it. There we go. All right, I'd like to introduce some Carson High School athletes and scholars. Down at the far end, we have 2 young ladies who were named all-region first team, and that's Brianna and Vea. Vea also made all-state academic, so it has a 4.0 while running. The bigger group here, the boys, are the Northern Nevada regional champions and did a fantastic job. I'll just go through and name them. Sean Thornton was all-region first team. He got 2nd place. He's also an academic all-state. Next team is Ivan. And then we have Quinn. Quinn is also academic all-state. Next to him, we have Tegan. And then we have Nate. And then we have Sawyer Macy, who is all-region first team. And he's also academic all-state. And then Alex, also Northern Nevada first team all-region and also academic state champion. So, and then we went down to the south and we placed 4th at state. So this is the Northern Nevada champions this year.
Well, first off, congratulations. That's exciting. I love cross country. I helped coach cross country when my son was in high school. It was 1,000 years ago now, 2012, 13 and 14. And I still like to run. So it's something you can do your whole life. But what you guys and girls do are just amazing. I mean, I've watched it for years. You're so fast, so talented, and able to keep your grades up at the same time. That's fantastic. So you should be proud of yourselves. And I just want to say congratulations. Board? Oh, and we just had a new member show up on the end here.
Oh, and we have Seth, also on the team, one place away from all-region second team.
Nice, congratulations. Laurel?
I just want to congratulate you guys. I've been watching you run since some of you were very little. So I'm so proud of you. Such a great effort that you put in, and you guys do make it look easy. Great job, you guys running that. Boys, if it's girls, I know you were close, and I know you really wanted it. There's next year. So.
Yeah, just congratulations. It's amazing what you guys can do. Good shape, I guess, but yeah, to say the least. At one time in my life, years ago, maybe, but no, congratulations. Great effort. It's a great honor. And thank you guys for representing Carson High so well.
Is Dan Davis here? Oh, yes. So what we're going to do, if unless you have anything else to add, Coach, we'd like to, if you guys could just turn around, maybe come up to the podium here, just in front of it, so we can get a picture of you. Last one there has to give a speech.
Thank you and congratulations. Next, we have our reps from Carson High School here for their report. They're probably going to tell us how great the cross country team did. Okay. What about Pioneer? Okay. Okay.
If they do show up a little later, we'll make time for them to give their presentation.
Okay. Otherwise, just wanted to say a big thank you to the veterans of our nation celebrating Veterans Day. And I was mentioning that many of these cross-country kids were over at the Veterans Day run at the Korean War Memorial, the park down there. And I didn't run. I don't run. But my wife and my son did, and a couple of them finished 2 laps before they finished 1, so they were moving. It is National School Psych Week, so just shout out to all of our school psychs helping us out here this year. We did our first community partner of the month recognition, the new program that we're starting. Recognized Carson City Toyota for their years and years of support. So just want to give another extra recognition to them and thank you for many years of being dedicated to supporting the kids of Carson City School District. Carson Middle School had their annual Veterans Day concert last Friday. It was a very special concert, very well done, and included a live fire drill in the middle of the concert, which it gave everyone in attendance that real feeling of being back in school again. So, but it was excellent all the way around. Otherwise, and they finished with playing outside for those in attendance. So it was a excellent finish to the day. Last thing, on Wednesday, November 20th, coming up, is our next Community Connections event. It'll be focused on our special education program in the district. So that will be, we'll have dinner. Anyone who's interested in coming to learn more about that programming. And that is all I have.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to make a note real quick. I neglected to say it before, but Trustee Walt let us know she couldn't be here tonight. She had a conflict and just wanted to make sure folks were aware that she did call in. We're going to move on with item 4, board reports, board member comments. This is for information only, and we'll start out with NASB, Nevada Association of School Boards. Rich?
Not a whole lot tonight. Just a reminder of our conference coming up on December 5th in Reno. And then I think everybody received a flyer today about the training that's going to be held on January 11th. And if you haven't already done it, please sign up with Renee. Let her know if you're going to go or not. And I think that's going to be a good training. It's on advanced leadership for enhanced student success. And then also the NASB orientation number 2. So it's kind of the orientation is probably geared more towards the new trustees, but it'd be good for everybody to attend. And that's really all I have for NASB. You have something?
Well, and I was just going to remind everybody that year 1 and 3, so everybody's either on year 1 or 3 starting next year, so it'll be part of those required trainings.
Yeah, it'll go towards, I forgot to mention that, but it will go towards that and also your CPO program.
Great, thank you. We'll go to board member comments. Laurel, if you could start us off.
And I'd like to also give a shout out to the Carson Middle School band, because during the fire drill, their sheet music was left on the other side of the building. So they did their band performance from memory, which was really good that they were able to do that. For Fremont Elementary School, Dr. Ward reports that they are very excited to have a revitalization in their PTA. The new enthusiasm with the PTA has allowed the PTA to bring the Reindeer Lane gift shop to Fremont, and this will allow students to purchase Christmas gifts for family, and they will or even have it set up to have those gifts gift wrapped while they're there. Also, I would like to give a shout out to Carson High School's own Darby Beckworth, our musical theater director. I had the opportunity to see the WNMTC musical theater production of Legally Blonde on Friday, and Darcy is the lead of Elle Woods, and she is fantastic. Also in that production is Mikey Caskey, one of the bus drivers for the school district, 2 current Carson High School students, Jackson Hendy and Joss Peterson, and then the cast is full of alumni from Carson High School, so I'm going to shout them all out. Ava Ponzak, Alex Bennett, Hannah Walker, Jake Nichols, Josh Nichols, Trevor Young, Emma Kavner, Ben Achoka, and then I got Mikey Caskey already. So anyway, just a shout out if you haven't had a chance to see that production. It's very entertaining and very well done. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Laurel. And I would just add, they always put on such great productions. It's amazing the talents we have with our community and our students. So thanks to everybody who's involved. Rich?
Yeah, before I go on my board report, I'd like to recognize Miss Valley from Carson Middle School and the students for the concert on the Veterans Day concert. They always do a wonderful job. I've attended probably the last 7, 8, 9 of them, and they just keep getting better and better, and the kids are outstanding. So shout out to Miss Valley and the students. And then moving on to Boardwick Bray, this week they're having their multicultural night on Wednesday. The doors open at 5 p.m. and they're having a taco truck for anyone wanting to purchase dinner. At 5:30, they will have various groups doing performances. And then from 6:15 to 7, they will have a lot of different games and crafts happening throughout the building. And they're also having their book fair, so it should be a lot of fun for all. And then on Monday, November 18th, is our next PTO meeting. It starts at 5:30 in the library. The PTO is always looking for more members and help for all of the great events they put on. So if anyone's interested, please attend the meeting. And it's always a lot of fun and a great way to be involved. The meetings can also be attended via Zoom. And then on Tuesday, November 19th, they're having their cookie dough pickup from 3 to 7 p.m. And that'll be held in the multi-purpose room. And then they'll be having a school-wide field trip to see the peanut cracker on December 6th, and the $5 donation is due by Friday, November 22nd, for those that are able to. If you can't, I guess they'll cover the cost for you. We're looking forward to a very fun and magical experience for all the students. And that's my report for Boardwick. And I do have one for Fritz Elementary also. And I want to thank Mr. Brown for being in attendance tonight, Principal Brown. And he wanted to thank the parents who are participating in their parenting partnership classes on Wednesdays nights. And they'll also be hosting another session in the spring. He also wanted to thank the French parents for participating in the fall conferences. And this is quite amazing here, I think. They had a 97.7% participation rate. So that was great. Thank you. And I just want to shout out to Mr. Brown too. I think you run an excellent school. I hear nothing but good about your school, so thank you for all your work you do. And that's my report.
Thank you. Matt?
Thank you. My update from Carson Middle School from Mrs. Robinson. They're having a lot of exciting things happening at Carson Middle. Their culinary teacher was awarded a Rotary grant, and she's excited to put the money toward that program to improve it. They honored the veterans with their annual stakeout and a Veterans Day concert put on by choir, band, and orchestra. And they're very proud to have 2 winners in the essay contest tonight. So that is her update. And I do not have one from Mark Twain Elementary.
Yes, thank you. Mike?
So great things are happening at Sealiger Elementary School. They too had a 97% participation rate with parent-teacher conferences, so that is excellent. And they're having a lot of success with their Morning Pirate Club. They have 21 students and I believe 3 teachers who are showing up at 7:30. So from 7:30 to 8:05 and doing a little bit of extra work in mathematics. So go team.
Or, excuse me, Lupe.
So, from Eagle Valley Middle School, Dr. Lee Conley reported that they had 539 families attend the student-led conferences. That was about 63%. This is up from 54% last year, so it is increasing. The teachers scheduled and supervised these meetings and worked hard to get as many parents scheduled as possible. Students at the quarter were recognized during a breakfast with parents on October 29. Only 11 students were recognized and were chosen by the academic team. And I did attend that event, and it was just so nice to see the parents smile and just be so proud of their children. And I love how they provided the parents with a yard sign in both English and Spanish so that they could brag about their kids. So that was beautiful work. And also they had a translator to make sure that the parents understood what their children were recognized for. So thank you for that work. Also, a grade level recognition rallies on Wednesday, October 30th. Students were recognized for perfect attendance first quarter, A's and B grades, and trophies earned in exact path. Students participated in either a Halloween dance or numerous activities on October 31st. There were lots of great costumes and fun throughout the day. Leadership sponsor a hoodie fundraiser for Meals on Wheels. They collected $370, so good job, guys. The 8th grade girls took first place in the Taniva Cross Country Championships. They wanted to go fast, so Ricky, Bobby. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Congratulations to them too. Great things are also happening at Pioneer. Unfortunately, I don't have a report for them tonight, so I apologize. But they're always doing some cool stuff there. So I just want to thank the staff and the students there. They really make that a top-notch school. I just wanted to add a little bit to the multicultural night at Borderwick Bray. I think it's a fantastic opportunity. For those that are interested in going, just some of the activities going on in the timeframes that Trustee Varner mentioned. They're having children's folkloric dance, peanut cracker ballet dancers, song performances by a few students. Washoe Tribe will be represented. Some of the activities they're going to do, an Italian marble game, Native American round dance. They'll be making dream catchers, origami, and just a variety of things going on. It's not just, chatting, it's hands-on activities, and a lot of the students are involved. So if you get a chance, check it out. I think it'll be real nice. So that concludes my report. We are going to move on to item 5, association reports. Do we have any tonight in the audience? Make sure I don't miss anybody. Seeing none, we're going to move on now to item 7, which we moved up to item 6, presentation of the 2024-2025 Carson City School District Board-sponsored American Citizen Essay Contest. These are the winners. This is for, it says discussion only. This is for enjoyment only. So we just want to recognize these amazing students, and Superintendent Fueling will lead us off here.
Just hold this. It's much easier.
And while we're getting set up, parents, if you're, somebody you know is reading an essay and you'd like to get a picture of them, you're more than welcome to come up behind us to get a view of their front. We get a lot of parents who take a picture of the back of their heads. Feel free to come on up here.
All right. Thank you, President Casiopo. Good evening. Welcome to all of our guests and our amazing essay writers. Tonight we are giving out awards for the 2024 American Citizen Essay Contest. For those of you who don't know, this may have been a random thing that came up in class as an opportunity. This is something that the Carson City School District Board of Trustees started in the aftermath of 9/11. The board at that time thought 9/11 being a great day to reflect on how fortunate we are to be in this country, and all of the wonderful things that come with that. Decided to start an essay contest that happens annually, right around that time of year. So we have our winners this evening. And one of the things I think to point out too that I think is really special is while this is the Carson City School District Board of Trustees, that board at that time decided that it was really important to open it up to all Carson City's kids, wherever you go to school. I think just recognizing the importance of community in that conversation. So the topic this year was the Pledge of Allegiance mentions that our nation is indivisible. Considering divisions within our society today, what steps can you take to create unity? The essays were judged on adherence to topic, originality of thought, and use of the traits of writing, ideas, organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, and conventions. There were a panel of 6 judges that went through all of these essays, and there were a lot. Do you know how many essays there were? I'm asking you. Do you know how many essays there were? Guess. 1 million. No, I'm just kidding. No, there were a lot. So this evening we will recognize at the elementary, middle, and high school level the top 3. We have a certificate and a little award to give to all of them. We'll recognize our 3rd and 2nd place contestants to come up, and then recognize 1st place. And with 1st place, we're going to ask you to read your essay to the crowd and the trustees. So why don't we get going? We'll start with our elementary submissions. First, we have from Mark Twain Elementary School, Jacqueline Sullivan, 5th grader. Oh, here we go. Picture? All right. Why don't you hold that? This is a little good stuff.
And just as a reminder, parents, if you can stick around till the end, I know Mr. Davis is here and he would like a picture of all the essay winners. Did we already say that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, thank you. No, I'm sorry. The other 2 here. Okay, in 2nd place for elementary, we have Nanit Gill, 5th grader at Fritch Elementary School. And in first place, we have Joy Ponzak, fifth grader from Fritch Elementary School. I didn't mean to give you a hard time. I'm sorry. You okay? Did that fluster you? Yeah. Okay. Well. Yep. Oh. Okay. Why don't we come on over here? We'll get a picture. All right. And then Dan, do you want to get these three together?
Okay, so we got first, second, and third. Okay. You guys ready? 1, 2, 3.
All right, how about a round of applause for them? And then we're gonna have you read your essay. Are you ready? All right, come on up. Here, let's try this.
Promoting unity in our country. I wonder what our country would look like if everybody peacefully disagreed. Our country has different divisions, for example, different cultures, sports, and even skin color. People fight over all of these things. If we can show empathy, value towards others and their opinions, we can promote unity as a country. Unity is super important because it helps others make friends and value them as a person. I know that if we are loyal to one another and respecting others' points of view, we can create unity. One way that I plan to promote unity is to be a leader and show respect, and by believing and promoting equal rights. Disagreeing with others peacefully can help us have a respectful conversation. Instead of arguing, I would try to compromise or peacefully disagree. One way that I do this is sharing why I think my reasoning, then that others share their point of view. This helps us so that we do not argue and can have a respectful conversation with one another. Respecting another human being is important, so I try to respect all different points of view. Respect and empathy is important so that we know we are being loyal to all humans. When I am listening to someone, I try to understand them and help them in any way they may need. I know that if somebody is being treated unfairly, I can stand up for what is right. Another way to promote unity is to believe and promote equal rights. Even this tiny thing can make a big difference in our world. If we build positive relationships, we can become leaders and promote unity in our community. A way that I can build good relationships with others is to be a peacemaker. If I am a peacemaker, I can help others realize their similarities instead of differences with others. This would help others show that they agree on a few things to help bring our community closer. We can also highlight how being unique in yourself makes you special. This would help others know that being different and having differences is a good thing. If we were all the same, we would get bored and we would not have the different great inventions to this day. Even if we are different, we all have similarities. To promote unity, we can respectfully disagree or compromise. If we share points of view respectfully, it will be easier to listen and talk instead of arguing. I know that if we show leadership and help others in need, we can create unity. Being a leader means to help others, not to boss them around. A lot of people think that being a leader means that everybody has to follow what you tell them to do. However, a leader shows an example to others. When I lead others, that means that I show respect to others. I want to care and advocate for others in need of help or lifting up. I want to show others that I care and promote equal rights. When I'm a leader, I can volunteer at different events or service projects, such as a homeless shelter or food kitchen, and donate to charities. Another way to promote unity is to be a kind human that people want to be around. I wish that everyone would put aside their differences and make a difference and unity through leadership and showing others respect.
Okay. Moving on to our middle school contestants. In third place, we have Savannah Jones, seventh grader from St. Teresa's. And in second place, we have Poppy Hebb, 7th grader from Carson Middle School. And in first place, we have Fiore Maiello, 7th grader from Carson Middle School. Congratulations. Wonderful job. Here's your certificate. Why don't you hold that up for Dad so we can take a picture? All right. And this is yours. Don't lose that. There's good stuff in there. And do you have your essay? Are you ready to read? Are you confident? Can you project your voice? Yeah. Okay. Let's take a picture. Oh, yeah. Let's get a picture.
Okay, tighten up a little bit, guys. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
We'll have you read. See how that works. Okay.
Okay. The Pledge of Allegiance asserts that we are one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I've reflected on what indivisible means in this context, and I've realized that despite the fact that internally we are divided, when facing an external threat, we can join together as one. There are many ways the nation is divided, but there are steps to create unity. Things that can create unity are art, food, and music. I have narrowed down the following reasons for major divisions in our country today: racial, political, and economic. These are important ways we are divided, and they are serious and complicated. In a more hopeful point of view, I would like to talk about how we can create unity in our society. Humans like to connect and create relationships with one another that are peaceful. This can lead to conflict and division when one group excludes all others, but it inspires unity as well. Unity is defined as people join together as a whole. Personally, I feel united when I'm out in public with my friends and community. Sometimes that could be going to a group event or going to church. I thought about what creates unity, and some of the strongest things I could think of were art, food, and music. Art has a way of bringing people together to see one thing or multiple things, but art can also divide people in a way because everybody has a different perspective. Food can unite people, but at the same time, some with allergies or who don't like the food may feel excluded. That's why I thought music by far was the strongest way that can unite us. Music is universal. There is no language involved other than the language of writing music, and everybody can enjoy it even if they do not play an instrument or write music. People can sing along and just listen and appreciate the music. Music is free. You may have to pay to go to a concert, but regardless of how much money you have, you can easily make music. People can sing, hum, whistle, whatever they like, and it is free. Not only is music economically free, but it is also freeing. I play 2 different instruments, and whenever I'm playing, writing music, or even just listening to music, I feel free. Music has a major influence on society. Whenever a group of people are making or listening to music, it does not matter who is in charge, how much money everybody has, or what their background is. If it is an upbeat song, everybody dances or sings along. If it is a sad song, everybody feels the emotion of that song. No matter the song and how it makes everybody feel, the important thing is that everybody is feeling the same thing and appreciating it. At that moment, the divisiveness in our society does not matter. What matters is everybody being united, feeling, thinking, appreciating the emotion of the music. That is the beauty of music and how it unites everybody. There are lots of situations that show how music unites everybody in this way. In fact, there are some in our community. For example, every summer in Carson City, the Brewery Arts Center presents the Levitt Amp Summer Concert Series, a concert series that is free to go to every Saturday in the evening. A different band plays there each week, and there are games and food trucks. Lots of people from different walks of life come. There are rich people and poor people, old people and young people, women and men, people who have different political views. All of those differences do not matter because everybody is there to have fun. You dance, sing, or just spend time with your family and friends. My family and I go often, and whenever I'm there, I talk to everybody I know and also make new friends. We dance and sing along, and at the moment, I do not care if they are a different race or if they are rich or poor. Nobody does. They're just there to listen and appreciate the music and have fun. There's a lingering positive effect on my attitude afterwards and sometimes for a while. There are many steps we can all take to unite people, but some of them are not feasible. Therefore, we must start small. There are not many large steps young people can take because they are young and do not have that much power in society. However, there are small baby steps that eventually have a chain effect and leave long-lasting effects on society. Think of the ripples a rock makes in a pond when the rock is thrown in. The ripples increase and get larger and larger around the point of the surface where the rock hit. This would be like what would happen when just one person does something to unite our society. One step I could take would be to encourage young people to take part in the music community. They could play an instrument or join the choir or something involving music. This would unite the community because more people would join music programs and more people would come to watch concerts and other musical performances. Another step would be to set a goal of inviting 3 people to each concert I perform in. Then I could tell them to invite their friends and so on. This would also create the chain effect that unites our community. A final major step I could take would be to write to people in power in our society to host more free concerts. These concerts would definitely unite the community and encourage people to participate in music programs. There are many other steps we can take to create unity in our society, with or without music, but these seem like good first steps that my family, friends, and I could all take to create unity. Unfortunately, there are divides in our society today, and their solutions are not easily found. However, there are also many ways to create unity, such as music. Hans Christian Andersen once said, "Where words fail, music speaks." This quote really spoke to me because it means that music is unifying, free, and I believe powerful enough to change people. Societies around the world today need to focus more on how to create unity rather than how to stop divisiveness.
Okay, and moving on to our high school submissions. In third place, we have Alexis LaFountain Olney, 10th grader from Carson High School. We'll be sure to get that to her. Second place, we have Noah Smith, 10th grader from Sierra Lutheran High School. And finally, our first place at the high school level happens to be my favorite senior at Carson High School. And that's saying a lot because my son is a senior. And she's actually his boss in NJROTC. She's the big boss, the CEO, Neva Mello. Your certificate. Hold that up so we can get a picture over here. Okay. And that. And then if you wouldn't mind. Oh, okay, sorry.
Can I press the mic? It should be good? Okay. Hello there. My name is Neva Mello, and this is my essay. The 2024 presidential elections are upcoming, and the nation has never been more divided. Some side with Trump and others with Harris. However, there remains a large majority of undecided voters. This separation between the people has contributed to a society that is hostile, reactive, and consumed with debating each other, whether it be on social media platforms or in person. From a past society that came together to fight their oppressors, we have shifted to a nation that fights each other. That fighting can end if we can find common ground and understanding within one another. Being knowledgeable of others' beliefs is the first step in finding some sort of understanding. In the healthcare field, practitioners are taught to support diversity and be aware of different cultural practices so they can provide the best possible care for each individual patient. While at HOSA Nationals this past year in Houston, Texas, I competed in the Cultural Diversities and Disparities Testing event. In the months leading up to the competition, I studied different practices that are pertinent to different religious and ethnic groups. Moxibustion is a traditional Chinese practice that is used in restoring the balance of yin and yang by rebalancing heat within the body. Caída de la mollera is a Hispanic belief that if a baby's head is touched, their fontanel falls. In this culture, it is treated by holding the baby upside down and gently shaking. These beliefs may seem strange to outsiders. You learn that while each person holds different beliefs, they deserve the best care possible as they are still human. If these same beliefs were transferred to politics, America would be united once again. People with opposing beliefs should be treated with dignity and respect. Respect is given, not earned. Respect is a basic civil courtesy that needs to be practiced more in our society. Most people know nothing about the lives of the people who pass them on the street every day. Some people may be unable to afford food or rent for the week, and others could be immigrants trying to make a new life for themselves. When we are quick to judge and jump to conclusions, we show an ugly side of ourselves. Stepping outside of our comfort zone is what leads to growth. My English teacher realized this and made a seating chart the second day of school, my senior year. I was placed next to a girl with a very different life than mine. Little did I know she would become one of my best friends. She had just come from South America with the hope of a better education and a thick accent. She was quiet the first week. She isolated herself to her inner thoughts and the journal she carried alongside with her. But when she began to share her life, I soon realized we were not so different from one another. Aside from our nationality, we were practically twins. We bonded over the things that truly mattered. A shared love for Edgar Allan Poe, Jane Austen, and all the greats. Her English was broken. With a little effort, our communication became seamless. Taking the first step to get to know a stranger leads to unity. Those small connections we have with others tie us together. Together, we can bond over past experiences. In the moments of our greatest suffering, we stand as one. For generations past, a traumatic event has plagued our nations. It has left an ugly black keloid behind, but it has also brought with it unintended patriotism and selflessness. Pearl Harbor and the destruction of the Twin Towers were cataclysmic events that altered our society. In the aftermath, however, we were able to set aside our differences and stand together. Everyone in my generation has yet to experience something so life-changing. This summer, however, I came to understand more about what it means to be an American during my time in New York City. The Empire State Building and the Statue of Liberty are magnificent reminders of who we are, but the 9/11 Museum stood apart from the rest. The silence of the In Memoriam exhibit amplifies the voices of the dead. The firefighters who risked their lives to save countless others are honored among the 2,977 individuals killed as a result of the terrorist attacks. These museums and memorials preserve a moment in time when our nation was united, where every American felt deep in their bones the unsettling cavernous hole that had ripped through them. I don't believe another traumatic event is the solution to our current divisions. I believe we need to be reminded of how far we have come by honoring those who gave their all to protect everything we have today. We need to give out respect like confetti, and we need to broaden our horizons instead of living and interacting with the same people within the same little bubbles we call home. Thank you.
Okay, so board members, would you like me to get everyone up here for a photo, or did you want to make comments, President Cassioppo? Or?
We certainly want to do a photo of all the students, but I guess I'll just start us off by thanking everybody, families, students, for taking time to write these essays. I think these topics are important, and it allows us to, in many instances, reflect. In some instances, to kind of think ahead. And everybody from our elementary students up to our high school students, I just think the essays are exceptional. And I want to thank everybody for, again, taking the time to do it. So thank you. And thank all of you students for being a part of this. And I just wanted to add Joy. Joy, I know Superintendent Fueling was hassling you a little bit. We apologize. You may not know this, but I believe he submitted an elementary essay and he might have taken 4th. So 9th. Board, anybody? Rich?
Yeah, I would. I thought each and every essay was excellent. You could tell that there was a lot of thought that went into when they're preparing these. The speakers that read theirs were very composed. And it makes me feel very good that knowing that we have such good students at Carson City. And I know Miss Maiello is also a straight A student, which is very nice. I don't know you by your first name, I just know you by Fifi, but you guys all did an excellent job, and it just makes me really proud to be part of this district. Thank you very much.
I also want to congratulate each and every one of you who participated on this contest. And I want to say, parents, thank you for doing a good job with your students, with your children. Keep up the good work. You should be very proud of them. And we are very proud of your students. So congratulations.
You know, I was going to touch on the parents also, because as impressive as the essays are, it's equally impressive seeing the pride on all the parents' face when your children are being recognized. And this is one of the rare times that we as a school board really get to participate with parents and students. And everything that we do in our schools, it's a partnership between the families and the teachers and the administrators in the buildings. And so this is one of those opportunities for the teachers to show what the skills that they've taught your children, and then also for the values that you've taught your children at home to come through in their words. And so this is always one of the favorite things for all of us, because it gives us a glimpse into your homes, but then also allows you a glimpse into what we're doing with your kids every day. So it's a nice event.
If I could add something, I think we ought to thank the judges too. There are 6 judges. And if my math is right, there was 300 plus or minus essays they had to go through, and to make that selection, I know it had to be a hard job, because I'm sure there was a large amount of very good essays that they had to review. So thank the judges.
And we're going to bring all the students now who were involved up to the front here to get a group picture.
All my
I know,
award
I talked
winners,
to her
if you could
already.
please come up front.
We're going to go ahead, board, and just pause for a minute, give the families a chance to regroup. Thanks, everybody. We're going to go ahead and move backwards for a minute. Our Pioneer representatives are here. We apologize for surprising you with the early time, but we're happy you were able to make it. And if Maggie, if Maggie and Caitlin would come up and provide their Pioneer presentation, we'd appreciate it, or Pioneer update. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board. This is you should say that.
Good evening, members of the board. This is Maggie Uzel.
And Caitlin Nguyen. We're representing Pioneer High School and coming to you with the first set of its bi-monthly announcements for November.
National Honor Society finished their Ghosty Pop Drive. They sold lollipops and a fundraiser to help the Dickinson family who were affected by the recent Davis fire. We are happy to report that the fundraiser was successful in both raising $133 for the family and fostering a sense of unity among PHS Pioneer students.
On Halloween, we celebrated our tradition of dressing up in costumes. We love seeing the students have fun guessing what the others are dressed as and preparing for the eventful night ahead.
Pioneer engineer students are making waves when it comes to improving our school. The greenhouse has a fully functional irrigation system, as well as several new plots, a compost bin, and a shade. They're all creating a beautiful environment for students to socialize and practicing their gardening skills.
Our leadership team is also setting up a turkey race food drive. We have families in need during Thanksgiving, so we decided to host a mini tournament. Extra donations in the form of money or canned food will be extremely appreciated. As for the student body, the class that donates the most will win a prize.
The CHS and Pioneer Academy speech and debate team are preparing to participate in a speech and debate tournament at Reed High School in Reno on November 15th and 16th, this weekend. We're wishing our team good luck and hope you do too.
Thank you. This is Caitlin.
And Maggie,
Signing off.
Thank you to both of you. We appreciate it. Okay, we are going to now move on to the highly anticipated item 6, public comment. I do know we did not receive any via email, but do we have any in-person public comment? Did you have some public comment you wanted to add? Or? Huh. So we're going to do this during public comment. We like big checks.
There's no action being taken. There's no
No,
fiscal
none.
impact. You're good.
Sorry, can we just get you to state your name, and yeah, you have to talk into the microphone so we can record you.
Scoot this way so we don't wreck it. Sure. Stephen Padar, I'm with Greater Nevada Credit Union, and Greater Nevada Credit Union partners with the Carson City School District and the Carson City School District Foundation. And one of the things we do is we provide a sponsorship of $1,000 annually to the foundation to help out. And of course, as AJ knows, we do a lot of other programs and sponsorships with Carson City School District as well, namely one of them this year, especially with Mayor Bagwell's Attendance Hall of Fame initiative. We were at every school that she was at handing out bikes and backpacks and supplies, which we hope we can do even bigger and better next year. So tonight we're providing to Mr. Hager, the foundation president, our annual check for $1,000. And would love to have you guys in the photo as well if you would like to do that.
And this is John Hager. One other thing I'd like to point out, we've got fabulous support from various members. So Patty Chang's been on the foundation board for a while. Fabiola Mata was on it up until recently. So they've provided support for events and taco bars and all sorts of stuff. So they really do provide a lot of support for the foundation and the school districts. We really appreciate it. So if we could maybe take a picture
Sure.
up here.
And we just want to thank Greater Nevada Credit Union too, for you've been a great partner to the school district for many years. So thank you so much for your support.
Okay, I got two cameras here, so ready, 1, 2, 3, and 3, 2, 1, and one more. 1, 2, 3, 3, 2, 1.
Okay, this is kind of a unique meeting for us in a way. We keep moving forward and then taking a step back. So I want to apologize to everybody for that. We really threw all of us off too. We had an early meeting tonight, started a bit early, but our Carson High School representative is here and has been here for a little while, and I neglected to notice her, so I do apologize.
He just wanted to save the best for last.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Diana Ancod, Carson High School School Board Representative. Unfortunately, the other one couldn't make it. Chris couldn't make it tonight. But to start us off this evening, I have a few sports update. Cheer, they just had their first competition at California on Saturday, November 9th, placing second. And for football, they had their last game of this season on Friday the 8th. And also wrestling is going to be having their first practice Saturday, November 14th at 9 a.m. And for our big events for student council class, we had the Dia de Muertos 5K run for the community on November 1st and 2nd, which was a success. And also the student class made tie blankets to donate for the Advocates Against Domestic Violence shelter, which we did last week. And also the whole class made like rescue bags for the Dream Center filled with hygiene products. And we also did that last week as well. And we also went to the Over Home Pottery at Carson Mall on Wednesday to make empty bowls for our fundraiser with fish in December. Basically, that's it for tonight. Our student council class is working hard to come together as a whole to give back to our community. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks to Diana, Maggie, and Caitlin. We appreciate you coming tonight. Okay, we are going to now move on to item 8. Well, we do not have any additional in-person public comment, do we? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close public comment, move on to item 8. Discussion, including without limitation, an informal update on the Carson City Schools Foundation and possible action to approve proposed amendments to the bylaws of the Carson City Schools Foundation. This is for possible action. And we have Casey Gillis and John Hager.
Good evening. For the record, John Hager, with president of the Carson Schools Foundation. And to my right is Casey Gillis. She is our treasurer. Very pleased to provide our board report. I will say that we have no proposed amendments to our bylaws, so we can put that aside and just talk about the good things that the board has been doing and the community has been doing on behalf of the foundation. In 2023, we received $83,000 in donations, so that was nice, that was exciting. 8,500 of that was from Carson School District staff, teachers and administrators. That number continues to increase this year, so it's a testament to the dedication all of the teachers and staff have toward improving the education of all of our students. In addition, we should point out that the Vera Family Trust provided a $60,000 donation, so that was a fantastic amount that we received. This year, we continue to receive donations. We've been working with Superintendent Fueling and staff to provide appropriate recognition for outstanding support provided by the community, such as Greater Nevada Credit Union. Earlier this year, it was I shouldn't. $1,000 from the credit union. Yeah. So anyway, so fantastic support. As far as funding goes, calendar year 2023, the foundation provided $50,000 in funding for various projects, $17,000 for department and mini grants, $31,000 for the Jumpstart program, and one $1,000 scholarship. This year, for this school year, we have allocated $67,000 for various programs, so that's really exciting. $20,000 for department and mini grants, and I believe we've already spent $10,300 of that. We've awarded that. The teachers and departments have received that funding. $19,000 for the Jumpstart program. That's for reimbursement for students for books, and that should be provided in the spring, I believe. And then $20,000 to reduce the cost of AP exams. And then finally, $8,000 for all of our elementary schools and middle schools, so $1,000 each. So they each received $500 for the fall. They'll receive another $500 in the spring. So really excited that we were able to do that. And that was for the PBIS program, Positive Behavioral Intervention and Supports. There you go. Thank you. I misspelled it in here, or I miswrote it in here. We've had a few members change, a few board member changes. So we want to recognize Valerie Dockery, who resigned from the board about a year ago, and Fabiola Amata, who just resigned last month. They've done a phenomenal job with the board. We really appreciate it. Steve Reynolds stepped down as president. We appreciate all the time and effort that he put into the board. In their place, I joined in March, and Katie Leo Geyser joined in March as well. So we have a stable board. We have good funding. We have a good balance in our accounts. So happy to take any questions.
Yeah, John Casey, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking time and coming here tonight. The foundation provides an important, plays an important role in our school district, and we really value everything that the foundation does. I mean, any support we can give to our students is just, I think our support of our students are second to none, quite frankly. And I think the foundation is instrumental in that. So thank you very much. Board, Mike?
Well, and I just want to say, especially how generous you all are with the AP courses and the Jumpstart. I mean, you're keeping those doors open for students. And it's one of the things I think we're all trying to figure out is how do we fund this going forward, because we know it's making a difference for kids. And so having the support from the foundation is instrumental in that. So thank you.
And we have some local businesses and foundations that give, that is so important to them. They give specifically for Jumpstart. And besides my thank you letter and all that, all those students write letters and tell those people, those donors, what it meant to them, what it means for their life to be able to participate in that program. So we're really proud to be able to help all of them, but that one particularly.
And I also want to thank you for the mini grants that you give to the classroom teachers of all grade levels, because that allows teachers to be innovative and try new things that can help benefit the students. And so I think that's also an important benefit that you give our students.
I don't want to overlook thanking you for the volunteer time that you guys do. I know that you put a lot of hours in, a lot of effort. I had the pleasure of sitting on the board for 1 year when I was the president here, and I saw all the hard work that went into raising these funds and trying to figure out where to distribute it to be the most efficient. And so just thank you for stepping up and continuing doing what you're doing. It's greatly appreciated.
Great. Well, thank you again. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thursday. I would have been a day early. Okay, item 9, discussion on proposed changes to CCSD policy 219, English learner program. Oh, sorry.
I was just making sure you did call for public comment.
No, I didn't. So I just caught myself. Before we go to item 9, this was an action item. We're not taking action on it tonight, the foundation, but we still wanted to call for public comment if anybody had any public comment on that particular item. Okay, seeing none, we're going to move on to item 9, because I think Dr. Scott would like us to actually get to her item. So item 9, discussion on proposed changes to CCSD policy 219, English learner program, first reading. This is for discussion only. Dr. Scott.
Good evening, President Casiopo and members of the board. I'm here tonight to revisit our policy 219, which addresses the English learner program, and also the reg. The policy was under review because I wanted to make changes to the reg, so as a pattern of practice. So you'll find that the changes to policy 219 are not the content, it was just more of the wording to make it congruent with more updated policies.
One question we had, if you would entertain it, the vision statement. The first paragraph starts out, district, English language development, ELD designees, and classroom teachers will be prepared. We were wondering if we should add after teachers, comma, instructional support staff as well. Okay, we do recognize that the policy and more so the regulation is geared towards the requirements that are put on teachers and administrators, but we know that there's a partnership there and we just wanted to pay some recognition. So if I got it right, it would just read designees, comma, classroom teachers, comma, and institutional support, instructional support staff.
Okay.
Thank you.
May I also make a recommendation on district, it would be the second paragraph. District EL, could we add the word students? So it would read district EL students will work together, et cetera.
I think your microphone's off.
Typically, we wouldn't, we can, typically you wouldn't because it would be redundant to say English learner student. So I would think that we would pick one or the other.
The only reason why I suggested that, so that it would be consistent with the other paragraph, like the next paragraph says district EL families.
Families.
So the previous one would say district EL students,
Certainly.
if it's okay.
Okay. I was just going to say it's defined, ELs is defined in the paragraph under purpose as for all English language learners. So it just is a matter of preference.
Okay, so are you?
Yes.
We'll move on to item 10. Discussion on proposed changes to CCSD Regulation 219, English Learner Program. This is for discussion only. And again, Dr. Scott.
Suggested changes to the regulation, namely the number of hours required in training for best practices pertinent to the education of English learners has been reduced from 45 hours to 20 hours. And the inclusion of visiting a model classroom has been removed. Further, the provision for teachers who participate in the ELAD coursework has been removed. They've been receiving $500 a tuition reimbursement. They will receive that this year, and my goal and my hope is that they will receive it moving forward. The funding source for that is our Title III grant, which needs to be approved yearly, and I just thought I would be remiss in including something that I didn't have certitude would continue in the reg and then have to revisit it for that one point alone. So that's simply the reason I took it out. I'm certainly in favor of teachers receiving that reimbursement, but without certainty, I just thought it was kind of just a little
Dr.
safety
Scott,
net.
before we move on, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Why are we changing from 20 hours to, from 45 to 20 hours? And is it an NDE mandate of how many hours they have to take?
The NDE mandate for it to count as a service, like on the service menu, like an acceptable EL service, simply states that it has to be a program that's approved by the NDE, that's created by the district and or approved by the NDE. The coursework we're presently going to give was a course that was created by the NDE, and it's 15 hours, and I've added an additional 5 hours for coaching and kind of follow-up observation and coaching. I believe that the original 45 hours was part of when we were under the auspices of our settlement with the Department of Justice, which we are no longer under. Quite frankly, we used to give this training as what was called high-quality sheltered instruction, and sheltered instruction is a program model, and we did it in person and sub teachers out. That has not really been a practical option in the past years due to our sub shortage. So we were finding that it was a very big lift for really what it constitutes first or second year new hires to be completing 45 hours asynchronously outside of school. I also did it with having confidence that the coursework, having taught it, is grounded in research, and it was, again, created by NDE in partnership with West Ed, which is an academic think tank. They call it the $1 million class because I believe they might have spent $1 million creating it. So I felt, even though maybe that the time spent, what we would normally have spent face-to-face, that the content and the rigor of the class was sufficient preparation.
Okay, thank you.
kind of along that lines, in the original reg or the previous reg, the time frame that was provided or designated for teachers, new teachers to do the coursework was 18 months. And so we would kind of say that they would be enrolled within their first 2 years. And I've just made that clear and made it within 24 months that they will have completed the required coursework. Another thing that we've added is that we have, district leadership and I, provision for teachers that have an ELAD endorsement, an English language acquisition and development endorsement on their extant Nevada license would be exempt from that requirement. So essentially, the coursework that is offered is kind of like what we would say is a methods and curriculum course, and teachers in earning their ELAD endorsement would have been required to take 3 credits in that topic. So we're going to suggest that teachers that have the ELAD endorsement are exempt from that 20-hour requirement.
Just a comment that I'd make on that. When I was serving on the English Mastery Council, and she was investigating how they could have the training provided in the teachers who are getting their ELAD training through school, but also not to put too many credits on it to dissuade people from majoring in education, because if you put too many of those training requirements in it, people choose other majors. So I do think that that's giving them that exemption. They've already had the training in college, and it's a good balance that way. So
yes, and just as an aside, I will be offering an extension of that 20 hours for students who are earning their ELAD so that they can then get those 3 credits and put it towards their license. So that will still be an option.
So 20 hours is enough for 3 credits?
20 hours is not enough for the
Yeah,
3
I didn't
credits,
think so.
but there will be an option for students who want to earn those 3 credits who would like to use those credits as part of their ELAD endorsement, which is the way we've done it now, but it was 45 hours, which was 3 credits.
Which would have been 3 credits, yes. Thank you.
So that will still be an option through this path, with just some additional party favors.
One other question I had when we were reviewing this, and again, the board, just for the public's knowledge, the board doesn't approve regulations. They're actually provided to us more as a courtesy. But just for clarification, and I'll leave it to you and your team, consideration to maybe expand the title of just a regulation, English Learner Program Training and Licensure Requirements for Certified Staff.
Okay.
You know, I know that there's been a little bit of back and forth about the 20 hours, but I think that it's important to note that not every teacher is working on getting an ELAD endorsement. And so by having the option for 20 hours, we're allowing teachers that just want that knowledge to inform their practices in the classroom to get that training without the more robust requirements of that endorsement. And so I think it's key that we continue to offer alternate ways to get professional development for our teachers. And it's not always about an endorsement. And so I think that it's good to give people this option because it's only going to benefit the kids to have better trained teachers.
No, I agree. Thank you for your involvement and your leadership in this.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Dr. Scott? All right.
Do you have anything else? You look like you might have something you want to add.
No, I don't have anything.
That's right.
Dr. Scott, thank you for everything you do. I know you put a lot of hours in. You do the weekend thing with the kids. You're at the events that's been hosted, Night of the Dead. You were there the other night. When the astronaut was here, you helped a lot with that, putting that together. So the board recognizes that you do a lot of work above and beyond, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item 11, discussion on proposed changes to CCSD Policy 510, required health examinations and sports physicals. This is a first reading and it's for discussion only. And presenting, we have Rodney Wade and Thomas Raymer.
Rodney Wade for the record. First, I wanted to say I am really relieved, being the first time that I've had to present to this board, that I didn't physically have to read the entire policy. When it says first reading is a little overwhelming. Yet. So I provided some executive summaries for you guys for the changes that we're looking to do today. Basically, new position for me this year. Sat down with Coach Reimer, asked about some of the changes that we felt were important to make for the program, and to come into compliance with the NIAA, which is our governing body. Policy 510, one of the changes that we're looking at making, basically talks about the requirement for athletic physicals for athletes to participate in the NIAA sports. Previous to this, the NIAA didn't require it except for every 2 years. That policy has changed to annually. We're requesting to make a one-word change to this policy, basically to change it from every 2 years to an annual physical examination requirement to come into compliance with the NIAA.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our presenters? Okay, moving on, we'll move on to item 12, same presenters. Discussion and possible action on the following reviewed CCSD policy for which no changes are proposed. Policy 534, Interscholastic Activities Program. This one is for possible action.
So policy 534 deals with our drug testing policy. In reviewing our practices for drug testing policy, we wanted to make sure that it was in line with our practices and make sure that we are providing expedient drug testing facilities for our students. The policy.
Is that agenda item 13? Are we on 12? Or did we skip?
Policy 534. 13, excuse me. Yeah, this is policy 534. 13 is regulation 534.
Okay.
So policy 534, we're not looking at, there's no changes needed to be made on policy 534.
This is an action item, so once we take action on this, then we'll move on to item 13, which is the regulation.
You don't have to take action, but you do have to call for public comment.
Right. So, yeah, since there is no change to this, we don't necessarily have to take action, but does anybody have any public comment on this item? Okay, seeing none. Thank you. We'll move on to item 13. Discussion on proposed changes to CCSD Regulation 534, random urine drug testing of Carson High School students, athletes, and Regulation 534, Appendix A, procedures for random urine drug testing of Carson High School student athletes. This one's for discussion only. Same presenters.
So currently, there's no time limit. What happens is basically we get a random sample of students who are selected by our testing facility for testing. They come out to our building, we pump them full of water and wait for the result. And so the problem arises is that there have been multiple times where students within a timely manner are not able to provide a sample or are delaying the sample for as long as possible, hoping that the tester will leave. And so what we're requesting is 120 minutes for students. That's a 2-hour time limit for students to be able to provide a sample to our testing facilitator, and that if they are unable to provide that sample in the 120 minutes, that be seen as a failure on the testing.
One thing we noticed on page 4, item C, under the following drug classes that they must be able to test for, nicotine was not included, but it's included on page 6. So is that, I'm assuming we need to add that to page 4 as well?
Our current testing does not, so our testing provider that comes out does not test for nicotine. However, in the school environment, if we confiscate a nicotine product from a student, the NIAA does see that as a banned substance. And so while we don't actively test for it during our drug testing, it's not required by NIAA for us to do testing. It is something that requires us to take action if we do find students who are using or in possession of.
Thank you. Laurel?
Yes, I have a question on page 5. Paragraph B says the student will be notified and required to submit up to 5 periodical urine tests throughout the next calendar year, if they, in the event that they have a positive result. And then when you look down under the first positive result and second positive result, it's possible under first positive, they could have no fewer than 2, and the second positive is no fewer than 4. So I'm wondering, should it be 6 in paragraph B, because I'm counting 2 and 4 down there? Why is it not consistent, I guess, is my question.
So we're on
Page 5.
Result.
Right. So the district language stated originally that they would be notified and required to submit up to 5. NIAA requires that they do, I believe, 2. Is that correct?
Well, I'm just wondering because down below, the 2 paragraphs below say up to 2 or up to 4. So it seems to me that maybe B should be changed to be up to, they may be up to 6 tests. Just so our math matches.
And I'm wondering, Laurel, it says no fewer than 2 and no fewer than 4. So as long as they did at least 5, you know.
But we say up to 5, so if it is no fewer, both of those, we're over 5, we're at 6.
So maybe the language could be consistent. So do a no fewer than, just like the bottom, and match the numbers up.
So I think one, if you, as I read it, the upper paragraph where it says the student will be notified and required to submit up to 5 periodical urine tests throughout the next calendar year. The requirement there is just that they could be asked if a coach or something had a suspicion, which would be beyond what they're required to do. And so sometimes coaches want to make sure maybe it's an off season and they're not in season, but we really want to make sure that this student is staying on the right track, that the student could be required to, but not, or could be asked to, but not required to under the policy as a mandatory, but something that could be optional.
Okay, but I'm still saying if we're down below where we're saying it could be no fewer than 2 or no fewer than 4, maybe our up to should be up to 6.
So, Mr. President, just for what it's worth, I think the operative word in the reg is whenever a student's test result, which means it would be up to 5 on any test that came back positive, whether it was a first or second. So I think even with a first, they're going to have no fewer than 2, but they can have up to 5. And on a second, they're going to have no fewer than 4, but up to 5.
He explained it a lot better than I could.
I have one other question, just under and it's just a formatting. The third positive result, I would delete the first clause because that's not included under the first or the second positive, and I would just have it say the student participant will be barred from participation to match the language of the first and second.
Okay.
Did you have something?
Thank you. So we've been talking about, you guys have mentioned both our district rule and NIAA rules. Are we mirroring those? Is that how we created this regulation? And the reason I ask is I'm just curious if a district rule, I was wondering, what I was thinking about is, my guess is middle schoolers aren't being tested for NIAA, but why don't we do that for middle school in our district? Right, so I'm just wondering if this is a district regulation, not just NIAA, why aren't we testing our middle schoolers? Because I look at page 1 under statement and need of purpose, I think it's pretty consistent I'm just curious as to why we wouldn't do that with middle school as well, if you guys know.
Thomas Reimer, Athletic Director at Carson High School. Again, we're trying to mirror what the NIAA has, and they don't actually say that we have to drug test our student athletes. It's something that the Carson City School District has decided to do as a deterrent, along with our counterpart to the south. Douglas County does the same thing. Washoe County does not. As mentioned, the middle schools don't follow under the NIAA guidelines, so we're not kind of following under the Nevada Administrative Code as far as infractions for a drug infraction, which a lot of times in some of the other counties, they're in possession of. So that's how they're being caught there versus Douglas County, Carson City, Lyon County, Pershing County. They're actually physically testing the student athletes as a deterrent to give them kind of a way out.
Okay. And then one other question I had was on the substances being tested for, is NIAA have specific ones that have to be tested for or that allow testing for?
Again, the NIAA is not requiring for us to test substances for these student athletes.
Okay.
They have a banned list, which they call the alcohol, tobacco, and they included the electronic cigarettes, which is now known as vape, in those things. Nicotine obviously costs a little bit more if we were to add that to the testing. That was kind of brought up. The funding that we get for the testing is currently coming from Partnership Carson City. There hasn't been approach to them as far as, hey, is this something else we want to test even further? As far as testing for nicotine, some other counties do test for nicotine, whether that happens to be chewing tobacco, vape products are the two most popular.
Okay. What about steroids? I know that's not on the list. And I know
It is not on the list. That would be another expensive test to do.
Yeah, thank you. I was wondering if a student athlete tests positive on the first time, then they have to submit to 2 other drug tests. Is there a time frame? Number one, they have to take these tests. And number 2, are they allowed to continue to participate while they're doing these other 2 drug tests? And the same would be the second one. I see they're not really prohibited from participating until the 3rd offense, and then they're permanently banned through their high school career. But what about the first and second? If they test positive, are they still playing football? Are they still playing basketball?
Let me try and clear that up a little bit. So the first infraction for the NIAA on a positive result or in possession of is a 6-week suspension. 4 weeks can be suspended if they adhere to a program, whether that program is through the juvenile court system that we use or through Partnership Carson City. Then it would be a 2-week suspension from activity. If there's a second infraction, so during that time, the testing group is going to test to make sure that the sample's coming down. Like if there's a certain level of whatever that substance is that they caught, if it's coming down, they can see, all right, that this student is no longer taking this substance. If they're seeing that it's still at the same level or it's going higher, the student is still using. So that's kind of the whole part of the random testing. So we're at every 2 to 3 weeks that we're testing this. So if they see that, hey, it's coming down, they knew that the student stopped. On a second infraction, they're out for 90 days. So there's no exceptions to that. So that's part of the NIAA policy that we've been following. So it's 6 weeks, 4 weeks can be waived. On the second offense, it's 90 days. On the third offense, it's a ban, but the parents can appeal to the NIAA, and they got to pay for their own attorneys. They do the whole appeal process to the NIAA Athletic Control Board.
Okay. So even though it doesn't mention that in the regulation, if they test positive, we would follow the NIAA suspension?
Correct.
Should we mention in our regulation maybe, or? I'm not.
Well, I felt because we can't control NIAA, I felt that it was pertinent for us to basically let them make their policy and us just to say we're going to follow their suspensions. So that way, every time that they make a change, we don't have to come back and change our policy. And so that's kind of one of the reasons why we worded it the way that we did, was so that we wouldn't be kind of behold to every time NIAA makes a change for us to make a change.
Yeah, I see your reasoning behind that, but when I read the policy, I was confused. You know, whether or not they got to continue to participate, or if there was some kind of suspension. So I don't know. It'd be my recommendation we put something in there that we follow the NIA guidelines or something like that.
If you read just above the first positive result, it does say the district will follow NIAA regulations regarding suspension from athletic participation.
My assumption is that those detailed out were consistent with NIAA. One more thing, when you go to your appendix with the procedures, on page 2 of that, at the bottom under number 7, under paragraph B and C, you list parent, guardian, and custodian, 2 times parent/guardian custodian, and I saw previously you deleted the custodian, so I just recommend for consistency to delete custodian from those 2 paragraphs.
And I just want to clarify for the record that, Mr. Wade, you were joking when you said we're pumping kids full of the fluids. That entails them drinking water.
Yes.
We're not.
Yes, we're giving them
we're
cups
not
and they're
pumping
drinking.
fluids into
No,
these
no,
students.
sir.
I
Yes.
just want to
Sorry.
get that on the record.
Yes,
so that
sir.
That's very
Yes,
clear.
sir. And Mr. Varner, to follow up with your question, so when a student does test positive, they are on the testing list for the subsequent test after that. So every test after that, whether or not it be the 2 or the 4, whether or not it's their first offense or second offense. And so one of the concerns that we had is, depending on the number of positives that we have, we get a limited number of tests that all of our tests by the end of the year end up being just students who had tested positive before because we have no more openings for other students to be able to test. So either we would have to increase our budget to be able to have more students test, or just be consistent with, after your first offense, we're going to test you twice afterwards. So the next 2 tests. So I believe that would be like the next 6 weeks of testing, because it's every roughly 3 weeks that we're testing. Or if it's 4, it's 12 weeks.
I think that answers my question. I was just concerned as if you do one now, then 6 weeks you do another one, then 3 months from now you do another one. There wasn't any time frame listed, and if they're doing it every 3 weeks or something like that, that should be good.
The other point I'd like to make is, unlike a lot of our disciplinary policies at the high school, this is for your entire athletic career. So if you 3 times, we've had students that their freshman year, they get hit 3 times with a nicotine vape, they're done with athletics for their entire high school career. We've also had students who, once their freshman year, once their sophomore year, maybe again their junior year, and they're done. And so, this isn't a policy where every year the kid starts over new. The NIAA doesn't really recognize that. And so it is a fairly strict policy as far as the NIAA goes.
Any other board questions? All right, thank you. We appreciate that. Good information. Okay, we're going to move on to item 14, informational update on the preliminary 2024 cohort graduation rates for the Carson City School District. This is for discussion only. We have Dr. Medina and Tasha Fuson.
Yeah, good evening. Ricky Medina for the record. Thank you for having me. I was going to bring a giant check for AJ, but I forgot to remind Mrs. Fuson. So presenting on the class of 2024. So this is the group that just graduated this past school year. And every year it seems like this presentation comes sooner and sooner. We used to do this presentation like July or June of next year. But then it moved to like March and then December. So these kids had up until October 1st, so up until last month, to graduate, to be considered graduates. And basically what the cohort is, if you're new to the adjusted cohort graduation rate, is basically every kid during the 2020-21 school year, no matter where you were at in the country. If you started school as a 9th grader, you came for 1 day during that school year, your cohort starts. You get locked into that 4-year cohort, and you have 4 years to graduate. It doesn't matter if you started on the first day of school or the last day of school. You have until October 1st, a month ago, to graduate. The way that you end up on the bottom part of the cohort. It's the number of students that enrolled plus the number of kids that transfer in. So if kids come as 10th, 11th, or 12th graders, they become part of the cohort as long as they were a 9th grader somewhere in the country during 2021. And you're transferred out of the cohort if you go to another degree, what they call a diploma granting institution, so another high school, or if you pass away, or if you move out of the country. The one other thing I'll point out on this slide, up in the numerator, it talks about regular high school diplomas. In Nevada, the adult diploma is technically considered a regular adult diploma. So if you get a regular high school diploma, so it's the equivalent of a high school diploma, but for the graduation rate, when we get to some slides later on, if you earn an adult diploma at your high school of record, like if you earn it at Carson High or Pioneer, you count as a transfer out student for the grad rate. You used to count as a graduate, but now you're considered a transfer out. So these are what our numbers look like for the last 9 years. So when I know somebody's going to ask about what scores look like nationally. The most recent data that's been released by the U.S. Department of Ed on the National Center for Educational Statistics is for the 2019-20 school year. The average there was about 86.5%. And the scores range, half of the scores were below that. The other half of the states scored higher than that. And it ranged from about 80 to 93.
Tasha Fewson for the record. The one thing I also want to add on to that is that there is not the same equation, if you will, for figuring out grad rates or the same grad rate requirements from state to state. So it's very difficult to take a look at a grad rate within the state of Nevada and compare it to a grad rate maybe in California or in New York, because it's apples to oranges. They're not the same requirements. Each state has its own requirement in terms of the number of credits students have to earn. Each state has its own requirement, whether or not there's end of course exams that have to be passed or not. In our state, our students have to participate in a college readiness assessment. In our case, we take the ACT. Other states don't require that. We don't have a pass rate requirement on the ACT. Other states do. So, I mean, there's no way really to compare grad rates across states. So I just want to make sure that was put out there as well.
Dr. Medina, just the slide before when we were talking about the equation, I just want to make sure I heard you right. You mentioned something about Carson High students and Pioneer students and what counts as a transfer. Does transferring to one school to the other from either of those two count as a transfer, or now that they're all under the Carson High umbrella, if you will?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Last year, because they were separate schools, basically it's calculated for each individual school. So Carson High, if there's a kiddo there that transferred out and went to Pioneer, they would be taken out of the Carson High cohort and they would enter the Pioneer cohort. Yet in next year, when we do this presentation, we'll have one number district-wide. And I just want to point, this formula is used consistently across the U.S. It's the graduation requirements and all the other underlying things that could be different. And on this slide, we don't have data yet for Nevada, any of the other school districts. And this is because this data, the Nevada Department of Ed said that they'll release it most likely sometime this week. So this is what the numbers look like when we break it down by school. So we used to have a grad rate for adult ed, but now, as you could see, it's just dashes there because adult ed students, they don't count them as part of the graduation rate. These are overall what the numbers look like. So in years past, these 29 adult diplomas at Carson High and these 7 adult diplomas that were earned at Pioneer, those would have counted as graduates 3 years ago, but now they're considered transfer out students. Carson High, or adult ed in addition to those students, Adult Ed also had some of their own graduates that were part of the cohort. We often get kids from other school districts or across the country that come into Adult Ed without ever going to one of our traditional high schools.
To wrap my head around with what you're saying. So if a student were to receive an adult diploma, they qualify as a transfer.
Yes.
So it's separate from the school, from high school. So the data is still Carson City's data, but it's not tied to Carson High School. It's tied to adult education, correct?
No, so these 29 and 7 students, they earned those adult diplomas at Carson High and at Pioneer. So they didn't actually go through our adult ed program. Our high schools are able.
So they're transferred out of the adult ed program and added to the high school program.
Let me try to clarify this, because I think that's an excellent question. As Ricky was talking about the equation, thank you for correcting my clarification of that, because I was literally thinking about the adult piece. So a student has 4 years to graduate, as Dr. Medina said. If a student in one of our high schools enters into an alternative program, so we have the ability that's been approved at the state level to offer alternative programming at both campuses. If a student goes into that alternative program, by state law, we're allowed to award them an adult diploma if they meet the requirements for the adult diploma. The adult diploma has a reduced number of credits that are required from a standard diploma. So, but that student is still within that 4-year cohort. That means that that student, right, is still within their 4 years of high school, and therefore in the past, at one point in time, were considered in the overall group, and we were, they would count for us as a graduate. At one point in time, the state had changed their formula, is not the right word, but the components that belong in the formula. And at one point in time, if a student earned the adult diploma but was still in their 4 years of high school, then they counted against us, and then now they're transferring out. So we've talked about this a couple years throughout the time, how come even looking at grad rates from year to year to year are not necessarily apples to apples, because it depends on whether or not those adult graduates, which means a student in their 4 years of high school, earned the adult diploma versus the standard diploma. So within the state of Nevada, there's an adult diploma, there's an alternative diploma, there's a standard diploma, there's a college and career ready diploma, and there is an honor or an advanced diploma. So we'll talk about those numbers in just a moment, but you're still talking about a high schooler who's only spent 4 years in high school. So the current methodology of calculating our graduation rates is to say, if you receive the high school diploma and you are a senior, a true senior, this is your senior year of high school, but you were in an alternative program through Pioneer or Carson High School, we now get to neither count that student as a graduate for us within that cohort or against us. So that's why it's considered a transfer out. So it literally, when you plug in those numbers, it removes them from the overall calculation, if you will, when we determine what Carson High's grad rate is, what Pioneer's grad rate, and then those two combined are the district's graduation rate. Does that make sense? But it means these are still all seniors within their first 4 years of high school. So we still have to track all of them and be accountable for all of them.
These were the diploma types that were earned for the class of 2024. So overall, as a district, we had 122 college and career ready diplomas, 85 advanced diplomas. And the difference between those two categories is primarily a GPA requirement. We had 271 standard diplomas that were earned and 62 adult diplomas.
Question on the adult diplomas here. It was 29 and 7. Are those 29 and 7 ones that were high school students that then earned the adult diploma, and
Yes,
the other numbers are
the extra ones there are through adult ed.
Okay.
So again, to reiterate too, just to explain, as Dr. Medina said, but that might connect a little bit better now. We do occasionally have students that will transfer in. Let's say they come to our district in March and of their would-be senior year. And this is a student who has 7 credits. Believe it or not, this is not rare. We get more than our share of students in this boat, right? Instead of enrolling that student at either Pioneer or Carson High School for 3 months, we often will talk to them about potentially going to adult ed, especially if they're actually physically going to the adult ed program, not the adult ed alternative program that is offered at those 2 sites. So that's why you will have a student, you actually have Pioneer with adult diplomas, Carson High with adult diplomas, and then actually our adult ed program with adult diplomas. And some of those students are students who might have transferred to the adult diploma. They're the ones that you guys sign in your consent agenda too, like students who want to maybe work towards a GED or maybe work towards that adult diploma, even if they're 17. Sometimes we have medical issues. Sometimes we have, parenting where they are having children themselves. There's many reasons that students might choose that path because the adult diploma is a recognized high school diploma. It has reduced requirements and it's not preferred. It's not something that we champion within our district, but we have seen it raise. The number of adult diplomas have raised through the post-COVID years. We're hoping to see that start to decline again. So we've been tracking that over time. We've talked to our high school leadership about the fact that that should be a last choice for students when there's not another route to a standard or to a college and career ready diploma, which is what we would prefer for all.
And this data gets looked at the sites at the district level a million different ways. So we look at it by foster students, by students who have parents that are part of the military. From here on, from like the next month, I will get a million different requests of different ways to look at this graduation data, to drill down and look at kind of individual kids and groups of kids. I wanted to share, this is what it looks like by ethnicity for our district. And it's a little bit misleading sometimes with some of our subgroups. So our Hispanic, Latino, and our white Caucasian groups, those are about 250 kids, give or take each. So those are pretty sizable populations. Some of the other subgroups only have 11 students. So multiracial has, I believe, 21 that are included in this number. The Asian Pacific Islander, there's 11. Our African American population isn't on here because there are only 3 students that were in the cohort. And so some years that number is 100%, some years that number is 0%, and it could just be 1 kid. But this is what it looked like overall by ethnicity. Yeah, what questions might you have?
They're getting tired. Mike, go ahead.
And I know I ask this question every year just because I serve on the State Board of Education, and there's often discussion of pushing all students towards the career and college diploma. So what would that hypothetically entail if we pushed towards our students to graduate with that as our ideal standard diploma? You know what I mean? Not changing the definition, but if the state were to start pushing us in that direction, what would our students have to do to accomplish that?
So Tasha Fuson, for the record, I think in taking a look, and thank you for pulling this data up, Dr. Medina, if you look at those number of students in that standard and adult, those 2 columns, those are the students that we would really have to make some momentum or push forward. Really, in cases with our students in this standard category, for some of them it wouldn't be a heavy lift. For whatever reason or another, they didn't choose to take maybe a industry recognized credential, which there is a state list that is updated yearly, and and it can be something as easy as first aid, right? So, but many of our students in that particular category don't see, necessarily the need to take that first aid or CPR to get the college and career ready, right? Like that's not it, but that's all it would mean for some of those students. For some of those students, it would be a significant change because it's about having 4 years of math and 3 years of science. So you all know, we've talked about this on numerous occasions, that we actually have had a higher standard in our district for quite some time than the standard diploma. So most of our students exceed that. We do require students to go up through Algebra 2. We do require 4 years of math and 3 years of science, not a flex credit, which is what it's called at the state level, where you can take the 4 years of math or the 3 years of science. You have to do one or the other. We require both. So there is a lot of movement at the state level to up those requirements. I know Superintendent Fueling has asked me several times, he's like, Tasha, you're not stressed out about this, and it seems like the other districts are really stressed. Why aren't you stressed? And I said, well, because Carson City, we're positioned in a little bit of a different space already, that we already require the 4 years of math and 3 years of science. We already require our students to take 3 years of social studies, because that's another component of that. We already also have the vast majority of our electives are aligned to career and technical education pathways, as you all know, because that's another portion of that. So I feel like, will it have an impact? Yes, it will have an impact, but I don't think it will have as great of an impact, a negative impact on our district, as it would in other districts throughout the state, because we've positioned ourselves well to make that shift if that becomes the way that the state moves. But I mean, obviously there is work to do. And for some of those kids, like I said, it's like, well, we need you to take this extra step. And if you take this extra step, you'll go from the standard diploma to the college and career ready diploma, because you'll have that endorsement. Or you need to take the ASVAB, or you need to take another assessment that's going to get you over that line. But when it comes to actual coursework and the amount of credits that we require students to have, we already have a higher level of credits that we require. Now, we do allow our students to opt out if they get to that point in a senior year where they're not going to make our district's requirements of 4 years of math, 3 years of science, and the 24 credits, then they can opt out, but they still have to take a full load of classes. They can't take a shortened load. So our high schools require 7 classes, which is also what positions us really well compared to other schools and districts across the state, where many of them are in our traditional 6, and students only have the ability to earn 24 credits over a 4-year period of time. Our students, because our high schools are set up on 7 credit schedules, have the ability to earn 28. That in itself puts us in a better position from where some of our colleagues are. So again, in our district, you can't opt out of our district's requirements for graduation and lower it to the standard diploma unless you're fully enrolled in 7 classes in your senior year. So that helps too, because let's be real, seniors often like to take a reduced course load, so that helps us kind of push that forward too. But I mean, I know I've talked to several colleagues across the state who are really, 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 really concerned about that shift and the real impact it's going to have on their ability to graduate students. For us, we'll make it work. If it happens, we'll make it work, and we'll be in a good place to do that.
Yeah, and the thing I would add is I think that I would anticipate that number is going to go up naturally in our district as well as statewide. I feel like the college and career ready diploma was kind of a victim of timing. It really like caught its steam right before the pandemic started. So I anticipate some of that will come back.
Yeah, I guess I share the fear that we're gonna start putting roadblocks in front of some kids successfully, getting through school, especially if you're a child or student that's gearing towards a trade, and college and university isn't in your plans as of that time. So I guess, I don't know, I'm cautious that I don't want to make it harder for students to complete their education.
Any other board questions? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're going to move on to item 15, informational update on the district's strategic plan, Empower Carson City 2027. This is for discussion only. Superintendent Fueling will present.
Thank you, President Casiopo. So this evening, as you know, about a year ago, I believe it is now, one of the desires related to the strategic plan was to set up some metrics, some things that we could look at on a regular basis, bringing data to the board, just to reflect on how we are doing, what kind of progress we're making. As a part of that, trying to find some, not an overwhelming number of metrics, but some things that gave a good sense of within the larger goals, are we moving in that right direction, or at least are maintaining where we want to be, or are we losing ground? So this evening, this is an update on excuse me, some of those success standards, as we call them, here as this data comes in. And just as a reminder, this sheet that is in your packets is broken up to reflect each page is a goal, one of the goals of the strategic plan. The objectives, those are listed in the strategic plan as well. The success standards to the right are those general metrics. They're not associated necessarily with any one objective, but it's supposed to give an overall sense of how we are doing towards. It's reflective of that overall goal. In the yellow is a benchmark number, and I'll point out again, and this is always a little awkward, and I was talking with Dr. Medina about this because it confuses me sometimes, but there's data from a specific year and there's data from the accountability year. And with the state, where we get some of this information, the accountability year may be this year, but it's actually reflecting last year's data. Or if it's last year's accountability year, it's actually reflecting the prior year's data. So I try to note that as that comes up. But so in the yellow, that column generally is the 22-23 school year. And those, the numbers, the information in there is really just kind of reflecting this is the starting point. This is the first time we had decided on what these metrics were going to be, trying to give a sense of where we were at that given point in time. As you move to the right, it's broken up into quarters for each school year, and that is not necessarily reflective of what is happening that quarter. It's more reflective of when this data comes to us. Some of it, we only receive it once a year, and it's just kind of that time of year. So if it's grayed out, we're not receiving that data at that time. In the white means that's generally when we would expect to receive it. So for goal 1 on that first page, and I should say too as well, this is reflective of fall and winter. So even though I recognize we're not necessarily into winter just yet meteorologically, effectively the second quarter as we're receiving this information. The first one listed, the ones that are being updated are in red text. So for example, in the middle, the second success standard for goal 1 is CCSD will maintain less than 5% of benefited positions being vacant during the school year. So it makes sense to me that this is something you'd pick a point in time that's a relatively stable point in time to give you a sense of, okay, the school year has started, things have settled down, now where are we? And so this number comes, Mr. Sadler puts this together for me at the beginning of October. to get a sense like, look, the school year has started. We've filled the positions we can. We're probably not going to find any more people to fill positions. So of all of those benefited positions we have, which there's 930 some, what percent of those are vacant at this current time? And so that percentage this year was 2.69%. Again, you go back 2 years ago, we were still in the throes recovering from COVID. We know the whole world was hiring at that point. I think every business in America had a help wanted sign out. And so we've improved significantly since then over the last 2 years, and just a small incremental improvement over last year, but still, if anything, I think maintaining in that range is a good place to be. That 2.69%. I think, I'm trying to remember what, I should have brought my computer with me, what that number translated into. I think it was like 12 positions at that point in time that were not filled. It might have been less than that. The number below that, CCSD will retain 95% of employees year to year, excluding those lost to retirement or relocation. So the idea being, if someone is deciding to retire, that's out of our control. If someone is deciding to relocate, truly out of our control. So of those who remain, what percent of our employees are actually staying from 1 year to the next? And so this, comparing where we were in October this year to what we had in October last year for those who left, we retained a little over 93% of our employees. Moving on to goal 2 on the next page. And I have to thank Dr. Medina. So one of the things I realized, I asked Ricky as I was going through some of this information, and again, the confusion between the accountability year and the actual year, that some of the numbers were a little off in terms of what they were real numbers, but representing maybe 2 different years. So in the first success standard, overall high school graduation rate of greater than 90%, and 50% of all high school graduates will receive a college and career-ready diploma. Another clarification within that is the number I originally was including here was actually college and career-ready or advanced diploma. So we have in that 22-23 accountability year in the yellow, but it was actually reflecting 21-22 school year data. We had a graduation rate of 83.4%. Dr. Medina, his information showed me that the actual CCR diploma / advanced diploma percentage was 40% that year for 21-22, not the 44.1. The 44.1 would go into that large red cell just to the right. So in that next year, so really for the 22, reflecting the 22-23, the graduation rate dropped to 80.6%, but the college and career ready and advanced diplomas actually increased to 44.1%. And then if you follow that all the way to the right, in the red text under winter of 2024, the graduation rate as was just presented increased to 83.1% for this year, but the number of kids with the CCR diploma and advanced diploma dropped to 37.6%. The next one, the goal was to increase our ELA and math proficiency scores by 10% across all 3 grade levels. And as you can see, looking between what's in the yellow and far to the right in the red text, that did not happen. There was a decline in most areas except for, I think, middle school. ELA went up a little bit. So as I said in the summary, there's clearly some work to be done there, and a lot of work that is happening and has been happening here in the last couple of years to start bolstering that. So hopefully in the next year we'll start seeing, or I guess at the end of this year we'll start seeing some more fruits to all of that labor that our people are working through. Below that, 75% of all high school graduates will be post-secondary participants, defined as completing an AP course or passing 2 dual enrollment courses or past 2 CTE courses in a pathway, and 55% will be post-secondary completers, defined as an AP participant and passing an AP exam or passing 4 dual enrollment courses, or a CTE participant and qualify for end of program and workplace readiness assessments. So again, the difference between the accountability year and the actual year. So in the yellow, what should have been reported as the actual year was 21-22. The CTE post-secondary participants was actually 73%, and the post-secondary completers was 53.6%. The numbers that are actually in the text in the yellow would have come in 2 cells to the right of that. So that would have been reported in the 23-24 accountability year, but reflecting 22-23 school year numbers. So that post-secondary participants in the yellow should actually be 73%. It would have dropped to 70.3% in the next year. High school CTE post-secondary completers is at 53.6%, but would have dropped to 51.1%. So then going to the red text off to the right, in this current accountability year, which is actually last year's data, our high school CTE post-secondary participants has now increased by over 2% to 72.5%, and our high school CTE post-secondary completers has increased from 51.1% to 56.2%. So those numbers have rebounded, and when I present this next time, I will clean up those numbers so that they are all in the correct year. Moving on to still in goal 2, sorry. One of the success standards is 100% of our K-12 students will have access to one-to-one technology and internet, and that continues to be 100%. Then moving on to goal 3, the next page, goal 3 is about family engagement, engaged parents and families. There is a parent engagement survey that went out last year, and there was a specific question on that asking if parents and families felt like they were engaged with their school and a partner in its success. That survey there are some revisions happening to that survey, so that will actually be delayed until next quarter. So I'll report on that here as we get into the new calendar year.
That was the one that we didn't have very good participation.
Correct. Yeah. So hopefully we'll have much better participation and a great percentage answer. Moving on to goal 4, healthy generations. 100% of students will have access to a health wellness curriculum while attending their school level, elementary, middle, or high school, and physical education is available each year of schooling. That again continues to be 100%. District average daily attendance to trend upward from 90.6 to 93%. So in the yellow, in the 22-23 accountability year, which is actually showing you 21-22 data, it was 90.6%. Last year, it bumped up to, or sorry, 2 years ago, it bumped up to 92%. Last year, it bumped up to 92.5%. So that's what you see in the red text. So it continues that upward trend, which is good. I think it's reflective of a lot of the work around absenteeism in the district and trying to and putting resources into trying to support our kids and families and making sure that they are getting to school and participating. Last goal, goal 5, community and full partnership. So the first success standard there, 15% of all grade 6 through 12 students will take part in a work-based learning opportunity appropriate to their grade level as defined by Nevada's work-based learning continuum. Oftentimes, if you recall, we think of work-based learning as very much a high school thing, and it is not. It just looks different at the elementary level or the middle school level. And so, thanks to the help in particular of Candy Robles at Carson High, we should have, as of January 1st, a system to start capturing this. So this is something that will be asked of all of our schools as these opportunities come up. And the easiest opportunity to think of is at the younger grade levels, career exploration opportunities are considered work-based learning. So if I have someone come into my classroom from, let's say, RCI to talk about their job as a civil engineer, that is a work-based learning opportunity for those kids. But we've never had anything to collect that sort of information before. And so we have built that, and so planning to roll that out as of January 1st. So we'll have data through the end of, or through the second semester of this year, so it's a starting point. But it getting to the point where we can actually start collecting this information will be helpful for reporting back on this. This is also in the governor's ACing accountability system. We were allowed to come up with an innovative goal, and our innovative goal centered around the idea of work-based learning. So by being able to collect this information, it actually serves a dual purpose, not only in reporting and being accountable to you, but also being accountable to the governor under ACing accountability. Last one, offer 50% of all possible high-demand pathways as defined by the state or regional entities. Had previously reported 55%. I am likely going to come back to you next time to talk through how that percentage was calculated. I have it up to 74%, and what that reflects is we have 15 programs of study at the high school level. Of the 15, 11 are considered high demand, high wage as defined by an NDA or the governor's office. And so that 11 of 15 is actually 74%. And what I realized in that calculation is the way I'm stating this in the success standard, that percentage, I don't know that actually reflects what I don't believe it reflects what I'm saying there. So when I come back to, I wanted to be, I think, consistent with how, like what that percentage was, but I don't know that it's actually reflecting what I intended it to. So the bottom line is, of 15 career pathways we are offering, our programs of study we are offering within the different career clusters, 74% of them, 11 of those are considered high demand pathways. So offering a good service, a good product to our students, but just refining what this is then going forward to make sure it's consistent. And that is all of the most recent data we have. So when we get to, I think it's February, I'll be bringing this back to you again, refining some of this information, presenting some of the updated information for spring. I believe there's not a lot that comes to us in the spring. I think we get the results of our climate survey, school climate survey. If that is not in summer. But if anything, just kind of updating and being clear about how we are calculating and tracking some of these other pieces going forward. So overall, I think generally moving in the right direction. Again, some of those test scores are not moving in the right direction, but again, a lot of work going on trying to turn that around. Otherwise, I think we're doing a good job with the staff we have, keeping the staff we have, filling positions, providing great opportunities for our kids, providing the instructional tools for our kids to make them competitive here in the economy that they are going to be coming out into. So a lot of wins and some work to do. And with that, I'm happy to take any questions.
Let's see. Rich, did you have a question?
I don't really have a question, but what I'd like to remark on, I guess, is I'm glad that you're developing a system to go back and revisit the strategic plan. I've been involved in several organizations where we would work like crazy to do a strategic plan, and then it would sit on a shelf, and no one could tell you what was in that plan. So I'm glad that we're coming back and revisiting ours on a regular basis, and thank you for getting the information so you can report on it. And we're just not letting it sit somewhere.
Yeah, I think the benefit here is our strategic plan is truly a guiding document that, you know, we work collaboratively to make sure it's current. And I think getting this kind of information, while I know it's hard information to gather, and if you're not real familiar with the strategic plan, it's probably hard information to, you know, to understand or ascertain. But I appreciate the information. I appreciate that you're, like Rich said, you know, that you're continuing to look at this because, I mean, in the end, you look at our 5 goals and they all build on each other to help our students be successful. And that's what we're trying to achieve. And we're going to have ups and downs, but, you know, we want to just keep moving in a good direction. So I think you're on the right track by, you know, looking at this the way you're looking at it.
One other thing I'd like to mention, and it's really another shout out to Dr. Medina. Under goal 4, one of the goals that was set, and we didn't really have good data to go on, but that 25% of students grades 6 through 12 will participate in co-curricular or extracurricular activities. And again, building the system, because we never had anything to collect this kind of information before, but he's built an infinite campus now, a way for us to load in there all the kids participating in sports, clubs, whatever it is, so that we can actually have a sense of how many of our kids are actually being a part of this. And I really feel like that's one of those things when you start looking at the kids that are doing at least one thing like that, you'll tend to see that they're having better results in school just overall. And so I think we'll finally be able to, you know, I believe that, but really to see some data that hopefully supports that as well and continue to be a push here.
Good. Well, again, thank you. We appreciate the information. Last chance. Any questions? All right. We're going to move on to item 16, approval of the consent agenda. This is for possible action.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any board discussion? Seeing none. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Excuse me. Motion carries. Item 17, informational items for discussion only. No action will be taken. Any questions on the informational items, board? Okay, seeing none. Item 18, requests for future agenda topics. Do we have any? Okay, with that, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.